as freaks as anyone.
Mm.
We never expected to be voted anything in the, especially in this year's, because we haven't done that. Well, we did 85. It was the beginning of 85.
I suppose for 6 months, the first 6 months we did a lot of work in the United States, and I suppose that accounts for some of it. But there were some pretty some pretty good bands around as well, like Bruce Springsteen, people like that.
Yeah.
So
You haven't been in touch with him since the poll was announced, no?
no, I'm sure he's not speaking to us now.
Listen, Larry, can we go right back to the beginning? You've talked about this before, but perhaps not on RTE that often. You actually formed the band, right?
Mm.
And you pinned the notice on the school notice board. Do you remember what you were doing that day, what you were looking for? Had you any idea what you were getting yourself into?
No idea. All I knew was I'd spent all my pocket money on drum kits, and suddenly you get to the stage after playing your bedroom for 6 months, so you wonder where to go, you know. So just thought it'd be a good idea maybe if I just stuck a notice up just on the off chance that somebody might be interested in, somebody with an accordion might come along and be able to do some traditional Irish music or something like that, you know.
Can you remember the wording of the notice that you put up? Can you remember what exactly you were looking for?
No,
Help,
it was
I think.
something like that, yeah.
Help.
But certainly I know nothing really. I didn't think about it. I just sort of said, well, maybe somebody would be interested. I didn't think I would be interested in forming a rock band. I mean, if somebody with an accordion had come along, I would have played with them, you know. That was where I was at. I was that desperate to play with somebody.
So you had the Kilfenora Cayley band touring.
Yeah, I mean,
that
would have done the job. You know?
It was when he found out it was going to be a punk rock band that the confusion began, actually.
Indeed.
Coming from the Artane Boys band and being told to get his hair cut, I think, was a bit much.
Did you know the other guys, Larry, when you pinned that up at the time?
No, I'd heard of this fella called Paul Hewson. Like, he was fairly notorious.
That's that
if I remember correctly.
Mildly.
And then there was Adam, because Adam was a new boy in town, and he used to wear this fantastic Afghan coat. That's how I knew Adam.
He had to get his coat cut before he could join.
But no, I didn't know the guys at all.
What about the Edge? You didn't know him?
No, knew none of them.
You were mildly notorious. Why? How?
I've no idea. But I mean, I was a bigger boy, wasn't I? I mean, I was 16 and he was only 14, so I mean, any 16-year-old's notorious to a 14-year-old.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
What were the early days like? I mean, can you remember the first rehearsal and stuff like that?
Oh,
this is like that Monty Python routine, you know.
Well, if we were lucky now.
Yeah, try telling that to the
I can remember scutting home and stuff like that, you know, in the back of lorries from Mount Temple. But, you know, for us, I think for you too, I think it should be said that there are a lot of people in this city a lot worse off than we were. Okay, you know, we never got anything given to us on the plate, anything. But there's a lot of people far worse off than we were, so I think it would be wrong for me, for Larry to talk about the old days in any sense of we overcome all these obstacles. There were a lot of obstacles to overcome, but there are other bands out there that are, you know, fighting for the price of strings.
Sure.
Not just the price of guitars, which is what we were fighting for. In fact, Adam, being a poshie from Malahide, he had an amplifier, and we all plugged into his amplifier, and yeah, we used to, you know, we got great value out of it. But as I say, I think we were very lucky in some ways.
Larry, had you any idea early on when the band started playing together and rehearsing, had you an idea of the U2 sound that we now know?
No.
Was that what actually were you doing then? What did you think the music would be like?
Just totally directionless. I mean, there's the old cliche, we were going nowhere, and we started to go nowhere together. That was basically it. We never ever sat down and thought about, well, this would be a great sound. I mean, we were basically influenced by things like seeing the Pistols or Clash or even the Jam on Top of the Pops, just saying, wow, this is something new. So we would just come out of like the whole hippy dippy thing into the new wave as such. So like we were fairly directionless, you know. In fact, we're still fairly directionless.
How did that? I mean, you were talking about obstacles in your path. I mean, one of the obstacles was playing ability, technique, all that sort of stuff. You really had to learn all about that, didn't you, within the group? And
we still haven't learned it. We still haven't learned it in so many ways. This group is just beginning. We're really just beginning. Things that I'm sure a lot of groups would find so easy, we find so difficult.
Such as what?
playing in time. You know, me learning the words, stuff like that, me even wanting to write the words. I mean, we tend to go about things I think from musicians that I've met since, I think we go about things a lot differently. We tend to just all start up, everyone just plugs in and we just start playing. And then we play for about a half an hour, and sometimes people are playing different songs. But then at the end of the half an hour, we play back the tape, and we listen to the tape, and somebody says, Edge, that was really good. And Edge goes, yeah, I think that was pretty good. And in fact, what you did there was pretty good. And we just literally with needle and thread sew it together, and it becomes a song. I think a lot of other people sit down and write songs in a much more disciplined fashion. Now
structured kind of way.
Yeah, and structured kind of way. I wouldn't mind getting into a bit of that. But that's for the future.
Right. What about your own, Bono, just concentrate on it for a second, your own development as a singer? I mean, you're now considered one of the best voices in rock and roll. I'm only saying it because you're sitting next to me.
You're great as well.
I know I am. But you are. I mean, people generally perceive you. You get voted in the polls. The critics talk about you.
Yeah.
But early on, I mean, you were actually in danger of getting kicked out of the band because you didn't have a voice, yeah?
Yeah, I fancied myself. I thought I'd be a lead guitar player, actually. And in fact, everyone wanted to play the guitar, as far as I remember. Even Larry was getting bored behind the drum kit, and he thought, yeah, I quite like playing guitar. But so then they stopped me playing lead guitar, and then I was on rhythm guitar, and then they stopped me playing rhythm guitar. Eventually, I think they wanted me to manage the group, but I wouldn't leave the stage. I felt I'd be better off on a stage than behind the scenes. So I began as a singer, but I was a really lousy, rotten singer.
See,
I've just actually recently learned how to use my voice, though I've never had a lesson in my life.
How do you actually develop? I mean, the thing is, there are a lot of people forming bands, and they worry about the fact that so-and-so, I'm not a great singer, I can never compete with the voice on that record or whatever. How do you develop the voice? How do you find your own voice? How do you get that kind of confidence?
Blind faith and ignorance, probably. A combination of the two. I never tried to copy anyone. I remember singing in an English accent early on. I remember normally Irish accents, the country and Western singers, they sing an American voice. So I remember I got into, my voice, I started singing in English accent. I listened back to the tape and said, who is that guy? And they say, that guy's you. And I say, but I don't have an English accent. And I remember that. Trying to sort through your influences, I think, is a big deal. And trying not to imitate other people, but rather create in yourself.
Right, which you did. We love lots of people in the audience who want to ask questions, and possibly a few phone calls as well. Right now we'll take a commercial break. If you come back in a few minutes, join us for the fourth and final part of the show. Bye.
Hey Larry.
Oh, you've met?
Oh yes, I know, Peter.
I'd like to ask Larry, what musical advantages did you get out of Mount Temple you consider you wouldn't get anywhere else?
Well, I suppose just the fact that we pushed for things that nobody else, that we asked for things that people hadn't asked for before, so teachers and that sort of said, well, we can't do any harm and all that sort of stuff. So got things like rooms to rehearse, and that's about it. Just things like rooms. We were able to stay there late, but when it started interfering with exam results and all that, and then other kids were sort of saying, well, why can't I play in a band as well, and all that. So I had its advantages and disadvantages as well.
Right, another hand up.